So thanks for having me. Donna told you that I am a psychologist in Bucks County. I've also raised 4 children. They're now inching into the 30s, but I've been there in terms of caregiving young children, teenagers, and even young adults. You know, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do, but it's also has huge challenges. And it's programs like these that give us, I think, the support to kind of keep going sometimes when we're struggling and we need a little bit of those extra supports. So let's move forward here, and perfect connection to all the things we've already been talking about, Melissa's story that she read to us, and then the yoga. So hopefully you've all enjoyed that so far. And let me see if I can move it. I'm trying, there it goes. Okay, so I'm starting with this screen. Very familiar emojis to us, showing many, many different emotions. And it's fun when we put them into our emails and texts to kind of search for that perfect emoji that conveys the feeling that we want to convey. And so look on this page and you see all different feelings. I see, amongst others, I see happiness, I see silliness, I see loving, I see scared and worried, and sad, and many others. And I also, down on that bottom right, see that red-faced angry. But that red-faced angry belongs on this page because, as you see in the words down there, all feelings are okay. It's okay and it's normal to have feelings. There's this huge array of feelings that we all experience through life and daily. But here's the big thing. It's what you do with them that matters. You know, if it's okay to be silly, but there's a time and a place, right? Sometimes we can't be giggly in the wrong places. So, you know, we have to be able to manage our emotions from time to time. And anger, as you know, is the topic for today. And clearly this fits with that. And we'll talk a little bit more about why. Anger is an okay feeling, but it's what you do with it that matters. Okay, so I'm finding this to be slower than I expected. So let's go back to that. Let's take a look at these 2 conversations on this page. What feelings are being shown? I think each of these pictures show very different feelings. We see a conversation between let's say a mother and her child on the left side, and perhaps a grandparent and a grandson on the right side. The mother and the daughter, I'm seeing the mother looking a little bit perhaps tired, frustrated, maybe angry, maybe she's yelling. She's clearly doing the talking. And we see a child who conveys anger to me. And by her body language, I'm not thinking that she's going to say very much of anything in the near future. She clearly isn't wanting to talk. She has shut down. So this is a conversation that's maybe one-sided, and I'm not sure it's going anywhere in a positive direction. Let's take a look at the other beautiful conversation on the right side. And we see perhaps a grandmother and her grandson thoroughly enjoying being with each other, enjoying a conversation, smiling, looking in each other's eyes. And I just can tell that they are enjoying being there so much that they don't even know what time of day it is, right? They're just really enjoying the moment, and this moment could last for a long time. Very different conversations or different emotions being felt throughout these conversations. So getting back to anger, what is anger and why did I show those pictures before? And what do we have to say and know about anger? We know this, we know anger is a complicated feeling. If you think of those emojis on the first page, I think anger is one of the most complicated ones, which is why we can have trouble with it, right? So let's remember, as I say this, though, it's normal and okay to be angry, but anger can interfere in our relationships. I think we saw that with that mother and that daughter. I think I see this in the shadow of this conversation on the right side of your screen. It can interfere in our relationships. Anger can contribute to poor health. We're going to talk about all this in a little bit. Anger can hold us back from success. So with all those complications of anger, it's important to get a grasp on anger so that we don't have those negative effects that come from being angry. And a lot of us have already talked, we've already been talking about this for the last hour about how do we express, how do we feel, what does anger feel like to us, to our bodies. And you can see, I depicted on this screen all the different ways our bodies can respond to that angry feeling. Fight or flight was mentioned earlier, that fight or flight experience where the adrenaline is just flowing quickly through our bodies and causing perhaps our heart rate to raise. So our body is pumping blood a little bit faster in that fight or flight mode, and it might cause our face to become red. I depicted at the top of this body the idea of the kind of almost like you feel like your head's going to explode or steam is coming out of your ears, you know, so angry, I feel like I'm going to explode. The voice box, the voice can get very loud, which is, by the way, very scary for children when suddenly there is a very, very angry, scary voice that's coming at you, right? Our fists might clench. Sometimes we don't even know we're angry until we kind of tune into the fact that, oh my goodness, I'm clenching my fist. And part of the point of this picture here is to kind of tune into what about you? And we also all respond a little bit differently, right? So learning a little bit about how we respond to anger helps us to identify the fact that we actually are angry. Here's a tornado in this person's stomach. You know, we could, sometimes it just might be, and you can't even see that, but you can see sort of like rumblings going on in the stomach, and that's the beginning of anger. But if I ask children sometimes, how can you tell if your mom or your dad or your grandma is angry? They will say things like that. They will say, oh, I can tell because my dad starts shaking his leg really fast, or, oh, I can tell because so-and-so's face gets really red. We do tune into some of these symptoms of anger, and it's important for us to tune into our own effects of anger so that we can learn to work with them, which is where I'm going with the next slide. Because when our anger is out of control, we might say hurtful things. We might damage relationships. When that head is ready to burst and we lose control, we say things sometimes that we wish later we hadn't said. Or, and as in the case of this little girl here, we might say nothing. But if we keep everything inside, that can lead to depression and anxiety. Sometimes we are so angry, and when it feels out of control, we might want to physically break something or hurt someone. Clearly, that is not okay. And clearly, we're trying to avoid getting so angry that we will break something or hurt someone. Our blood pressure may rise. As I said before, this can affect our health. If we live in a constant state of risen blood pressure, that's really has impact on our health and well-being. And our bodies become filled with stress hormones, and this is unhealthy. So I started by saying anger is an okay feeling, but now we're talking about how complicated anger is. So how do I control my anger so I can express it successfully? How do I work with my anger? As I said earlier, knowing how your body shows anger is a very good first step. Are you one that clenches your fist? And if you're clenching your fist, please tune into the fact that you're starting to feel angry, right? And the goal is to pay attention to your anger at the point when the signs are early, and that's before you have lost control. Okay, so I recognize I'm angry. What do I do with the fact that I'm angry? Especially if you're still in control, just getting angry, you are able to remind yourself of things that we know that we can do to calm our anger. Much of this we just did in the last hour during the yoga class. Much of this Melissa was talking about with if we kind of visualize and think about the different animals, especially the calming animals. So, okay, so I'm angry, what can I do? Taking deep breaths, calming your heart rate. As I talk slowly, as I take a breath in and a breath out, I can feel myself calm down. And I have control over that. And as I do that, my stress level, my anger level is going to come down a little bit too. Perhaps doing some yoga moves, especially if we need more than just the breath control, remembering some of the things that Sandy showed us. Just putting ourselves into that yoga stance or rolling our shoulders, like she said, can help us regain calm. Okay, perhaps whatever played out is enough to spark enough anger that the breath control isn't working for me. What are other things I could do? Perhaps visualize a very calm place for you. So in preparation for that, I would recommend that you kind of think about what your happy place is. In this case, for an example, I picked a field of daisies. And if I think about and close my eyes and visualize a field of daisies, I'm going to feel a little bit of sunshine on my face, and I'm going to feel the breeze that's blowing the daisies. And I'm going to perhaps hear the birds that are around those daisies. And as I visualize that scene, which for me is a very calming scene, I am going to likely calm down. Perhaps your happy, calm place is not a field of daisies. Maybe it's a park, a favorite park bench. Maybe it's a beach scene for you. Maybe it's even just a quiet corner in your bedroom. And while you're there, visualizing your calm space, also visualize the anger just flying out of you. Visualization is a very good skill to have to help bring ourselves into a sense of control. Counting to 10 before responding. Let's play out a scenario and work with this for the rest of this presentation. Let's talk about that spilled milk incident. We've all been there when milk has gotten spilled in the kitchen for whatever reason. And there's that adage that says, don't cry over spilled milk. But there are times when spilled milk can be a very annoying thing to manage, right? So we all know what that means for all of us. And we've all been there. I've been there. So what do you do when the milk is spilled? Before you respond to that event, perhaps count to 10. And that will help you, especially if you're counting slowly, which means you're breathing slowly, might help you regain some calm so that when you respond, you're not going to be out of control, which is what our goal is. Okay, still not to the expression of the anger yet, because maybe we still need to figure out how to get ourselves under control. So 2 more suggestions. Perhaps if this is so emotional for you and you are really feeling that you are not going to stay in control, perhaps stepping away from the situation is helpful. Perhaps go for a walk. Get some outside air, expend some energy, get some sunshine. Perhaps expend your extra energy by pounding a bed pillow, which is not going to feel hurt. But here's the caveat. The goal here is when you're stepping away from a situation because you recognize that there's too much emotionality to manage it. Once you have regained control, you do have to return, sorry to say, but that's because you want to be able to talk about the situation and work it through, okay? Okay, so now let's say we've had success controlling our anger. We caught the fact that we were angry. We're now successfully calmed down. Sometimes it's always helpful to try to understand what you are angry about. Let's say the milk got spilled and you're kind of feeling angry, but maybe it's not really your child's behavior. Maybe the spilled milk was so fully accidental that it's not really fair to blame it on the child. And perhaps what really is the situation is that you're angry about something that happened earlier in the day, something that's happening at work, whatever. And this we call displaced anger. So being a little mindful of what it is that you're angry about can help us as we decide what to do with the anger. Perhaps it is your child's behavior. Perhaps you reminded the child already 5 times that morning to stop running around by the table because be careful, this milk might get spilled. And then that's what happens, right? It's easy at that point to sort of feel kind of angry with your child for not listening to you in the first place. And remember, anger is an okay feeling. It is okay to feel angry with people we love. So how do we handle that? We'll talk about that. So here we are, we've understand where we're angry. We have regained control. Now what do? We really need to talk about the anger. We have to express it in an appropriate, effective way. I felt really angry when you said that because whatever. When you didn't do what I asked you to do, I felt angry. Can we please talk about it and make a plan so this doesn't keep happening? Now, these are conversation starters I can now have because I'm calm. I'm still angry and I'm sharing that, but I'm calm and therefore able to have these conversations, which hopefully will take it to a point where we feel okay about the situation. So you're listening here today for many reasons. Perhaps you're a caregiver of children, a grandchild, a grandparent, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, any manner of person who cares about children. And that is a critically important role to have. Because it is our job, we adults are the ones who can help our children learn how to express anger effectively. That is such an important life skill, not just for how we relate to them and they to us, but how they will then go on to relate to peers, to relate to someday bosses. And so teaching them these skills is critically important. And modeling is a very effective way to teach, is a very effective teaching method for children. And through the modeling, we are helping them learn to know, for example, when they are angry. They might see us actually talk about that. I'm feeling really angry. I'm going to take a deep breath. Or I can see you're angry. Let's take some deep breaths and calm down. Show them how you might walk away from a situation in order to calm down. This is really important to me to talk about, but I'm feeling too upset right now. I'm going to take a 5-minute walk and then I'm going to come back. And then I would like for us to talk about it. You know, actually telling them, teaching them how to do these things. Remember, if they see adults in their lives yell when angry or break something or hurt someone, they will learn that that is how to express anger. That's not what we want to do. We want to model for them healthier ways to express anger. Basically, you know, that phrase, do as I say, not as I do, that's not what I'm suggesting. Do as I say and as I do. That is so much more powerful when we're raising children. Children see so through the do as I say, not as I do thing. The do as I say and as I do is exactly fitting with their logic as well. So they're going to follow what we do. Trust me on that. So therefore we need to know and be appreciative of what it is that they're seeing us do. We also need to remember that anger can be a very scary feeling, especially for a child. So here's a young child feeling very angry and comes out with a very strong statement such as, I hate you. We need to help kids learn to express their anger. When a child says, I hate you, they really probably don't hate you. Well, they don't hate you, they do love you. But they just are feeling angry and they might not recognize it, or they might not have the right vocabulary for it, or they might not actually even, you know, all they know is they've got this really out of control feeling and they kind of want to lash out, right? And they don't know how and have the right words to express it. So responding with a very strong statement on their part, with a very calm response on our part, I can tell you are angry with me right now, is very calming for them. Can be calming for them. And it helps the child understand that this understand the scary feeling. If you stay calm when they are feeling angry, they will feel that they have a safe place to talk about what they are angry about. Another point I want to make is we have to be forgiving of ourselves and we have to be able to apologize. We all lose it sometimes, especially when we're learning, but all the time. Raising children is tough. I remember losing it many a time. It's normal. Remember, anger is a normal feeling. So if the moment happens when you feel that you have overreacted, you've yelled too loudly, you said something you wish you hadn't, it's never too late to apologize. And in fact, that itself is good modeling. I want to talk about how I acted yesterday. Perhaps you might say, I know I raised my voice, and that was probably scary for you. I am sorry I let my anger get the best of me. I will keep trying to stay calm. We will keep learning how to tame our tigers together, okay? Sharing language with this is helpful for them, right? If they know you're doing it too, that makes it even more positive for them. Wow, mom, grandma, grandpa, they're not good at this either, but we're going to learn together. And then importantly, messaging such as this: remember, I love you even when I am angry. And I love you so much, I am going to work on controlling my anger better. These sorts of statements are wonderful statements to tell to a child. It shows that you're vulnerable, but working with them. And we all make mistakes, as do our kids, right? That's just modeling for them when we go through that kind of thinking in front of them. So I've encouraged some activities to do when you feel out of control with anger, but I'm also going to repeat some of these because these are good regular activities to do that help us stay calm. Research. So let's picture this. Let's picture we're a pitcher, right? And we have stress levels that have risen up through the day, through the week, through the month, whatever, so that the stress level is up to my eyeballs. It just takes a little bit of a spilled milk to overflow the pitcher, right? So if we take regular exercise, if we go outside and have sunshine on us and get some vitamin D from the sun, which helps us feel better and keeps our stress levels down, our levels will come down. And if our levels are down, then perhaps the spilled milk won't overflow, right? We won't explode. We just will be a little bit more angry. So the goal of regular healthy activities is to help us have a more regular sense of well-being, to help us stay calm and feel healthier. And I include in that list meditation and yoga. You've just got a lesson in yoga. Those are wonderful exercises to do on a regular basis. And here, very importantly, is this idea: enjoy these activities with your child. Take walks with your child. Be outside with your children. Do some yoga with your children. That's teaching them the benefits of these positive lifelong habits. Remember, there are resources if you want to learn more. We've already mentioned the website BCDAC, but certainly check there for other programs, just as Donna described. Perhaps you might look into taking a parenting class that's going to be a little bit more lengthy than a 30-minute lesson, and give you some new ideas on how to manage challenging behaviors so that you have a toolkit ready. Because when we have the skills in our back pocket, that gives us the confidence to manage things even at the eruption point of anger. Having the skills at hand and practiced and in our back pocket helps us feel a little bit more empowered during the tough times. Get help if you need it. Seek out counseling for yourself or for your child if you find that you or your child continue to have difficulty controlling anger. It's okay to do that. And again, you are modeling for your child that there is help out there and that it is okay to ask for it. Okay, so here's the quick recap before I pass it back to Donna. But again, the big message: anger is an okay response. It's what you do with it that matters. So recognize your anger, check in with yourself, check in with your body and the sensations. And when you recognize that you've got anger kind of brewing, do some of the suggested exercises to calm that anger response, so that when you are calm and able to, you want to express your anger calmly, because you're modeling for your child how to manage their anger. And that is a hugely important role for you as an adult to take on behalf of your kids. And finally, stay calm so that your child feels safe in expressing their anger. And get help if more is needed. And also engage in those regular activities, and most importantly, consider doing them with your child. That's the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening. And Dawn, I'm going to turn it back to you.